One of the things that we're talking about praying for others is praying for your enemies.
Yeah.
And I have a
Yes,
testimony
very
about
good.
praying for an enemy.
Bring it.
My husband and I were living in an apartment when we first moved to Hollywood, and we had the landlady from hell. And this woman used to come into our home without permission.
Wow.
She actually was stealing things from our home.
my
We would get in fights about things because he couldn't find it and I couldn't find it. And so we busted her one Sunday coming home early from church, coming out of our home. My husband went over to her house and said, I'm letting you know that I don't want you in my home again. I'm changing the locks, blah, blah, blah. She spit on my husband. She charged at him with a barbecue fork, which was our barbecue fork, by the way.
My
He was like, my fork.
Yes.
Right? She called the police and claimed that he threatened her life.
Wow.
Police came to our home, and you know, my husband being a big black man, he says, you're gonna take me to jail, take her too. And he showed him his shirt. He said, she spit on me, she assaulted me.
Right.
So in this whole drama, she tries to evict us. I am 9 months pregnant with baby number 3.
Wow.
And God said, start praying for her.
Right.
Good.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, ooh, Jesus. Bless her with a brick, Jesus.
Exactly.
And I started by faith to call her name and pray for her. And she had 2 adult sons. She ran a daycare in her home. She cared for children. But she was like the terror in the neighborhood. She would harass the other neighbors. And we began to pray. I asked God to forgive her, to save her soul, to, you know, to bless her. Well, long story short, God turned that whole situation around. He blessed my husband with his first acting opportunity, blessed us with a new home right across the street from the lady where she had to watch us prosper, right? And eventually, word got back to us that she was ill. And we saw her one day coming over to the property with a turban on her head. All her hair was gone. And she was about 30 pounds, 40 pounds thinner. And I prayed for her. I was like, God, I ask you to heal this woman. I ask you to save her soul. And do you know, I remember the day that I saw her across the street. She turned and looked at our home, and she like dropped her head. She had this look on her face like, maybe I should have been nicer to these people. Like something happened that humbled her life.
Absolutely.
And I never prayed for God to do anything bad to her, but God used that situation to, number one, make sure that I had no resentment. Because we had to go through eviction proceeding. I mean, it was really a nightmare. And the Lord did a miracle in putting us in this new place. But through it, I was able to keep my love walk going.
So good.
But I watched God turn the whole thing around for our good.
Yes.
And in the process, even her children later came and were in humility toward my spouse because he had landed his first TV gig. So now they were like, can we come to your show?
Wow.
You know? It was like in the presence of our enemy, the Lord made a way. I will tell you, I don't know whatever happened to her because shortly after that we moved out of that neighborhood. But God kept that situation from, because we moved across the street. I mean, literally, she would come to the house and stare at us through the window, like she still wanted to harass us, you know? But I say all this to say that had my husband retaliated, he would have been under the jail. And we've had to cross that bridge many more times in Hollywood. We filed a lawsuit against my husband's agency for sexual harassment. And my husband, had he physically retaliated against this gentleman who assaulted him, he would have been the one to go to jail, even though it was in self-defense. And that practice of praying for your enemy, forgiving your enemy, blessing your enemy,
Blessing.
even though there was a lawsuit, there was no vengeance, there was no bitterness, there was no hatred, and even publicly we have said that we're praying for this man, you know. And it gives God a chance to show his glory and his light in a situation that most people would have just taken the fleshly route to take vengeance of themselves. Especially as an African American, you can feel that you don't trust the justice system. You don't trust anybody to fight for you. And you have to trust that God is your vindicator. He's your protector.
So good.
He is your hero. And I have certainly seen that happen in many instances in our journey, especially being in a cutthroat industry that we're in.
Hi everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe today and you'll never miss a new upload.
Thanks for being a part of our Better Together community.